What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got why Stroud succeeded but Young failed. Hey man, I think honestly, bro, look at the team comparison, bro. You know what I'm saying? Obviously CJ Stroud is elite, but you know what I'm saying, the Texans are way better team than what the Panthers have, bro. Let's keep it a buck. I feel like if Bryce was in CJ's you know what I'm saying, situation, he would have performed well and CJ would have failed with the Panthers, bro. Let's keep it a buck. Because Sam Darnold fell with the Panthers. Even Baker fell with the Panthers. And look what they doing now on better teams, bro. I feel like it's not... I don't think it's a Bryce Young problem. You know what I'm saying? Even though Andy Dalton has performed better than Bryce Young. But Andy Dalton's a veteran, bro. You know what I'm saying? So obviously he's going to perform better than a second-year quarterback. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like he has been bad in some aspects. I get that. But I don't think it's totally his fault. I think it's just the Panthers organization in general. You know what I'm saying? The offensive line is still horrific, bro. You know what I'm saying? Bro had no time to throw. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like if he goes to a team like Miami or Las Vegas, he's going to perform way better. You know what I'm saying? But let's go ahead and check this out.
CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. One failed and one not only succeeded but blew expectations out of the park. Both were considered to be 1-1, a coin flip to be exact, before they were drafted.
But it is crazy that Bryce Young beat CJ Stroud when they face each other, though.
Not as simple as Bryce sucked and Stroud is good. As usual, there is more to the story. Today we do a deep dive into exactly why Bryce Young failed, looking like a bust, while CJ Stroud was out there playing like a top 5 quarterback and an MVP candidate. Let's get into it. So we all know by now that quarterbacks need a good supporting cast to succeed in the NFL. And that was the main difference between CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. We will first look into what the protection was like for each quarterback. And so if we look at the total sacks and pressures allowed by the Panthers, the numbers are pretty rattling. The Panthers allowed 264 pressures, 5 sacks, 31 hits, and 188 hurries according to PFF.
Oh my gosh, bro.
But surprisingly, it wasn't even more, given the Panthers were on pace to set a record of 340 pressures by week 3. At the time as well, the Panthers left guard Chandler Zavala had a 0 pass blocking grade from the recent game they played against the Seahawks.
Gang.
That game, Andy Dalton started as well.
They legit set Bryce Young up for failure, bro. Ever since they drafted him, bro. Trading away DJ Moore, his potential #1 option at receiver. Y'all just gonna trade him away along with a whole bunch more assets, bro. Like they didn't want Bryce Young to win, bro. They didn't want him to fulfill his potential.
Was for Bryce Young starting off. Now looking at the Texans' total numbers for the 2023 regular season, this is excluding the playoffs, we see the protection CJ Stroud had. The offensive line gave up 30 sacks, 200 pressures, 25 hits, and 145 hurries. The difference of 15 sacks and 64 pressures, which it may not seem like a lot, but in comparison to the rest of the league, it is quite significant. Getting deeper into what the protection is like for both of these guys, we will see something.
Yeah, because those amount of like sacks and pressures could flip a game, you know what I'm saying?
Again, looking at Pro Football Focus's numbers, which it is the best way to examine linemen, we see the tackles with the Panthers were actually not terrible. Taylor Moton, right tackle, had a 78.7 pass protection grade, only allowing 1 sack and 41 pressures. At the other side with Ike Ekwonu at left tackle, he had a 62.
You don't want that many pressures, but
11
you don't allow 1 sack.
44 pressures. That probably wasn't
damn
great.
11 sacks is crazy.
As he was graded out to be 45 of 58 tackles.
Yeah, wasn't Ike Ekwonu supposed to be one of the best offensive linemen coming out of the draft, bro? Has he, like, Panthers fans, has he been living up to expectations? Because right here, it doesn't look like he has.
Percent of 1,178 snaps. Now,
because I don't really pay attention to offensive linemen like that, bro.
Story actually, arguably worse than the tackles Young had. Laramie Tunsil, left tackle, was
Tunsil been struggling. That nigga's a fucking penalty machine, gang.
His grade,
holy,
5 sacks and only 20 pressures. And to the right side of the line, George Fant was about average, having a 69.4 Pro Football Focus grade and allowing 3 sacks.
I like this background music.
You may think, well, that isn't that bad. While both of these guys were injured at various points in the season, and the replacements, well, they look pretty bad. Their replacements, Charlie Heck and Josh Jones, had a 38.9.
Damn! Oh my gosh, bro. 38 is crazy.
21 hurries, and 27 pressures. So if CJ Stroud's tackles looked worse than Bryce Young's tackles did, why would the Texans have the better offensive line from the social perspective and the total numbers we had looked at earlier? Well, it's 2 main things. One is the interior offensive line, which was a colossal disaster for the Panthers. And secondly, the Texans had a secret advantage one that has been taking over the NFL, and can be explained to why the Saints, 49ers, and Dolphins offensive line are still succeeding despite being projected to be a bottom 5 unit. But we will get to that shortly. For now, look at the Panthers' terrible interior. We see the guards.
Look at this, bro.
Bad. With Chandler.
Damn, they just trying to kill my nigga Bryce.
That's beyond awful, guys. And we see that in each game he played, besides one game where he was good in only 8 snaps. But he played only 7 games. The other guards looked miserable too, using 9 different guards throughout the whole course of the season due to obviously bad play or injury. And none of them had a better grade than 55.
Holy shit.
And to throw the center Bradley Bozeman under the bus, he was bad as well, surrendering 32 pressures and 8 sacks. Clearly, the Panthers' interior was honestly a unprofessional mess. I don't get how it could be that bad. Overall, the Panthers' guards and the center surrendered 150.
Damn, like, nigga, bro.
Be that bad. Overall, the Panthers' guards and the center.
Nigga, you turned right back around into him, bro. What the fuck are you doing? Keep blocking downfield, dumbass.
Surrendered 155 pressures and 25 sacks total. If it speaks to anything about the Panthers' offensive line, all of them plus the center were ranked in the bottom 200 out of all guards, tackles, and centers in the NFL. Now going through the
that boy Bryce ain't had no time to throw.
The secret of how the Texans O-line was better than the numbers say. There was a little movement around with the guards, and actually the Pro Football Focus grades show each guard and center being similarly graded to the Panthers' interior, with the exception of Chandler Zavala. He was a different story. Now, the Texans' interior surrendered only 95 pressures and 11 sacks, which is a 60 pressure and 11 sack difference, which is huge. So that leaves us with a much better offensive line situation for CJ Stroud compared to the offensive line sitch for Bryce Young. So why such a difference when their PFF grades were fairly close to one another, but the results were night and day.
PFF does not matter, bro. Like, PFF be fucking up these damn grades and shit sometimes.
Offense that provided them a significant advantage over the Panthers offense and really over other NFL offenses as well. That is, the Texans offensive scheme is based on Kyle Shanahan's scheme.
Of course, that now would make sense, bro. You know what I'm saying? Now it makes sense.
Certainly easier on the offensive line regarding what they are being asked to do. Text them even when there are a few bad players. And without going into much detail, because this video would be stupid long then, the Shanahan scheme uses a lot of motion and zone running to exploit defenses. They're using heavier personnel and horizontal pass.
So like I was saying earlier, if Bryce Young were to go to a team like Miami, which is also, you know what I'm saying, a Kyle Shanahan scheme with Mike McDaniel, maybe Bryce Young would perform well in that.
Offensive line is then
who knows,
this
man?
Is a very vanilla.
Who knows? Now I actually want to see him get traded to Miami, because who knows what's gonna happen with Tua.
Good, which requires the offense to compensate with star talent at the skill positions, which we will talk about later in the video. But that scheme is why the Dolphins of Mike McDaniels and obviously the 49ers with Kyle Shanahan have survived, even though each team doesn't focus a lot of resources on improving their offensive lines, and why they're still good despite having multiple weak spots. Speaking of weak spots, there is something that both these guys were terrible at during their rookie campaigns. This isn't surprising for either of them, as they both were rookies last year. And that's what tends to happen with rookie quarterbacks. We know now Bryce Young had a bad offensive line and a team that wasn't doing it any favors, versus CJ Stroud's offensive line not being great, but having the advantage that Kyle Shanahan's scheme brings to the offensive line. The thing is, both these guys were bad under pressure though. Whether it was making bad decisions, fumbling, or inaccuracy, it certainly wasn't pretty. But we see some interesting numbers as to who is responsible for pressure with the quarterback and offensive line when looking at PFF's allowed pressure statistics. And so, looking at Bryce Young's percentage of responsibility for pressure, he ranked below average with 14.7% of 217 total pressures being on him. Interesting enough, CJ Stroud was a little worse, having 16.9% of 160 pressures being on himself. But if both these guys are in similar tiers for being a few of the worst QBs for having pressure beat on them, the question is then, what was their performance under pressure? And that's the key difference. If we look at Bryce Young and CJ Stroud's PFF under pressure grades, we see Young having a 27.6 passing grade, 1 touchdown, and 4 interceptions. Stroud had a 48.3 passing grade, 3 touchdowns. Now
this that now obviously 48.3% is bad, but looking at the stats, I mean, it doesn't really look that bad. 52.1 completion percentage, which is not the best, you know what I'm saying? It's almost average, you know what I'm saying, to the whole NFL, you know what I'm saying? 871 yards, 6 yards per attempt is not the best either, but you know what I'm saying, it's better than 4.0% for Bryce. And then he threw 3 touchdowns to no picks. So I feel like this should be a little bit higher than 48. At least like goddamn 55 or some shit. You know what I'm saying?
Interceptions. But hey, since Stroud didn't throw any interceptions, why was his grade bad then?
Yeah.
Well, the truth is revealed with his turnover-worthy plays. Stroud had 8 big-time throws and 11 turnover-worthy plays under pressure, with Young having 5 big-time throws and 14.
Okay, now it makes sense. Okay.
Was a little better in this regard. And not only that, but Stroud was significantly better in key areas, along with an unexpected change, which we'll go into in just a minute. One of the key areas in that he was much better than Bryce is when he was blitzed, having a 69 passing grade versus Young's 48.5.
I mean, obviously, bro, Bryce is a smaller QB, so of course when he gets blitzed, it's gonna be hard for him to get the ball out because, like, literally every single offensive lineman is like, what, 6 feet taller than him? Like, bro, Bryce is short as shit. And then when you bring extra bodies, bro, that's gonna make it even tougher on him. As for CJ, he's the much taller quarterback, you know what I'm saying? So he's able to get the ball out quicker and over the linemen and defensive linemen and shit like that.
There is a possible
and extra bodies.
Poor play when blitz compared to just how good Stroud was when blitz, but of course we will get into that later in the video. Now Stroud's excellent performance extends further when being under pressure with a 4-man front. CJ had 20 throws, while Young only had 13. Their PFF grades were.
I ain't all of this, bro. This looks phenomenal, right? This is what an elite quarterback looks like, bro. For real.
As well, with Stroud having a 81.2 passing grade and Bryce having a merely 56.8. There is more to the story though. Remember when I said there was an unexpected change? You see, CJ Stroud was not good under pressure last year until week 10, where his play under pressure drastically improved, going from one of the worst quarterbacks under pressure to one of the best for the rest of the season. So he was ranked 29th out of 37 QBs in the NFL, and that is under pressure, for the first 9 weeks.
That's bro, hold on. That's crazy that he was under Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, and AR, bro. And Ryan Tannehill. Did Tannehill even play last year? Did he? Oh yeah, he did. He played for the first few games, and then Will Levis took over. But that's crazy that he was under all these other guys. You know what I'm saying? Jimmy G, Josh Dobbs, like, bro.
In the NFL, and that is under pressure for the first 9 weeks. Then from week 10 to week 18, he was ranked 10th
Lamar
QBs, a difference of 24.5 PFF grading points. That is astonishing. For a rookie to do this, even though he has a good situation around him, is unheard of. Look at Caleb Williams so far this 2024 year, and as of recording, this is week 4 by the way, he has one of the best supporting casts for a rookie and doesn't look the part for now at least. And to look back at Bryce Young,
I mean, he looks the part these last couple weeks, bro.
Worst QBs under pressure, bringing out with a 31.2 passing grade. Then getting worse from week 10 onward, having a 28.8 passing grade. Yes, I understand Bryce Young's situation is bad. There's no doubt about it. However, there's been QBs that have come in and looked great despite the supporting cast surrounding them, like Justin Herbert.
What you mean? Hold on. What you mean like Justin Herbert? He had Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Plus Josh Palmer's a solid third option too. And he had Austin Eckler to hand the ball off to. Don't act like Justin Herbert had a horrible situation, bro. The only horrible thing about the situation was the head coach. You know what I'm saying? He had great weapons, bro. Don't even go there.
His play under pressure was
even go there, bro.
His offensive line and scheme were trash can worthy, but his receivers were pretty good. Receivers, huh? There's an astonishing difference between Bryce Young's wide receivers and CJ Stroud's wide receivers. We're talking night and day differences. And I want to start with the X factor, Nico Collins. I'm surprised that more people are talking about this guy when it's single-handedly the biggest talking point of why.
And I hate that he's hurt too, bro. It's like as soon as they started talking about him potentially breaking 2,000 yards, bro, that's when he started dealing with injuries, bro. Like they completely jinxed this nigga, bro.
Backstory to Collins quickly. He was drafted at the U of M.
He could have possibly been over 1,000 yards right now.
Potential.
No bullshit.
He was a raw talent. It was really unexpected for him to break out even, as at this point in his career, it seemed like he was going to be a wash. Now, Nico Collins didn't just break out in 2023. He had a superstar level season that surprisingly, in my perspective, again, was not being talked about enough. And that's
Facts.
because one, Stroud was the one taking the headlines by storm, and two, there is another wide receiver
Tank
superstar
Dell
on the team getting the buzz, which we will get to shortly. Now, it is hard to find a complete alpha wide receiver, one that is elite going up against man and zone schemes. How often have you seen a wide receiver go off one game and the next get shut down because they're facing press man coverage? For Nico Collins, man or zone,
Brandon Ayuk.
to him. His BFF grades show when facing man coverage, he had a 91.6 receiving grade.
Damn.
Ranking second of all NFL receivers for man coverage. While versus zone coverage, he had an 86.3 receiving grade. In other videos, a big talking point that I bring up is how vital a wide receiver one is for the offense. What they do is force the defense to have eyes on them at all times, since they can beat them at the short, intermediate, and deep parts of the field, no matter the scheme. So let's say the defense decides to double cover Collins. Well, Stroud will go to other receivers then. And
Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs,
who was playing like a superstar. Well, his name is Tank Dell, a player who was unfairly written off.
Yeah, Dell would have definitely went over 1,000 yards if he didn't get hurt, bro.
Weren't in just a few. Tank Dell was great against zone coverage, putting up most of his numbers against that kind of coverage. Dell was also Stroud's go-to when Collins was taken out of the game by the defense, and so he had big games then. In week 3 at the Jaguars, Collins was held with 2 receptions and 34 yards. While the defense was distracted with Collins, Dell casually put up 145 yards on 5 receptions, but then in week 9 against the Buccaneers, he did more damage with 6 receptions and 114 yards. Again, while Collins was only held to 3 receptions.
That was a dime, bro. Look at this fucking throw.
Collins was only held
like, bro, like this shit. Like, look at the
receptions and 114.
Look at the release, bro. Look at it, huh?
Collins
Oh my gosh, the throwing motion is
only held to 3 receptions and 54
right on
yards.
target too,
Now,
bro.
key note is
that is a dime, nigga.
Slot. This is on the other side of Collins, a 5'9" receiver that only weighed 165 pounds, which is impressive, even if he wasn't excelling at man coverage like his counterpart Nico. Dell was drafted the same year as CJ Stroud, and he never was supposed to be as good as he was this past year. How has this contributed to Stroud's success? Well, he had 2 high-level XY receivers who are number 1s. And in comparison to Bryce Young, it quite literally is out of this world good. Bryce Young had nobody. Well, he had Adam Thielen, who was a slot receiver for the Panthers after coming from the Vikings. Thielen was actually good to start the season, and I can verify.
He went over 1,000 yards.
He was on my fantasy football team, and he was doing pretty good. But there was a problem. Thielen was the only good receiver in the Panthers, but he was no alpha wide receiver 1. This means he wasn't stressing defenses enough.
And then like this year, this year you can say that he still didn't have great weapons, but his weapons were still pretty decent. Like Deontay Johnson's having a pretty good year. Leggett, he didn't really start to really get involved till like week 3 or something like that. JT Sanders has looked, I don't know, I ain't been seeing him too much in the highlights, you know what I'm saying? Like they still need a lot more on that offense, bro.
The field to open up.
That's why I think they should lean on Chuba Hubbard a lot more. Bro was top 5 in rushing this year.
Receiver 1 and what it does for a QB and the rest of the receiving room. It just makes things so much harder on the offense to not have one. Let's take a look at what they had else then. You see Thielen clearly being the best they have. He had 1,000 yards and had a good grade according to PFF. Important to note, he was their slot guy as well. The other guys did pretty much nothing. Jonathan Mingo was drafted to be DJ Moore's replacement, who they traded away to the Bears to get the draft pick to select Bryce Young to begin with. And if I recall right, they didn't even need to do that. Like when they mentioned putting in DJ Moore as part of the trade to get that pick for Bryce Young, the Bears were like, yeah, we'll take that. Okay, it's hindsight now, but they probably didn't even need to do that. Jonathan Mingo did not grade well, and he had no offensive production.
Like, bro, the Panthers were just way too impatient, bro. You know what I'm saying? There was no reason for them to trade Bryce Young. I mean, not trade Bryce Young, trade DJ Moore for Bryce Young. Because if y'all couldn't get a QB in the draft class, y'all could have waited till next year. Well, you had Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy. You know what I'm saying? Who else was in that draft? Damn, who am I missing? Because it was 6 first round guys. Fuck, I'm blanking on it. Whatever. But like, bro, they didn't even have to do that, bro. They could have just waited till next year.
6 receiving grade, and if that stuff doesn't matter to you, he only had 418 yards, which it does matter then. Ironically, on the side note, Adam Thielen was really good against man coverage, but at zone coverage, he wasn't great. This is ironic because he is a old receiver that was on the decline physically, so everyone was saying. Moving to the next receiver the Panthers had, DJ Chark, he was unimpressive as well, only having 525 yards and a 60 overall receiving grade. There's not much else to say about Bryce Young's receivers. They were just bad. And to look back at the Texans receivers, they were cooking. Even besides Collins and Dell, who had 1,200.
And Noah Brown is so underrated, bro.
Yards, that was Dell. But Noah Brown, their slot guy, had a 75 PFF grade and 500 yards. Robert Woods had 426 yards and a 61.5 grade. These guys alone would beat out Mingle and Chark. And they weren't even the main guys either. And tight end wise, Stroud had Dalton Schultz going for 635 yards, graded out with 72.7. Young had Hayden Hurst and Tommy Tremble, who combined for 378 yards and just were not grading well. This goes to show how important it is to surround your newly drafted QB with a good supporting cast, which is obvious, but the number of NFL teams that draft a quarterback with the expectation that one guy will fix everything is mind-blowing. You would think by now the date of all people would know by now that it doesn't work like that most of the time. And the Panthers had that expectation of Bryce.
Now I remember Drake. I forgot Drake May, man. Drake May. I was still thinking about when I was talking about the quarterbacks. So I know I was forgetting somebody. Drake May
is something that is debatable, which is the Texans let Stroud cook, and for the Panthers and Bryce Young, they did not. Right off the bat, we saw Stroud just going for it, throwing all over the field, whether it was short, intermediate, deep. It didn't matter. It felt very loose, free, so to speak. The scheme and the coaching let Stroud do his thing. It's like his coaches told him
that's an unbelievable throw.
Sling the ball around, easy plays at first, dumping it around and encouraging him to take those shots downfield. Even if it went poorly, it didn't matter. He's a rookie. Because like many other QBs, such as Mahomes and Tua, they took time in practice, albeit to work on pushing to the limit as much as they can and then reeling it back in, which I feel is what Bobby Slovic, who again is the Texans offensive coordinator, was telling Stroud to do, versus Bryce Young being limited. It felt like he had to play by the rules and only that. Think of it in a way of his coaches telling him to just trust them, to trust the structure of the offense, and it was the we will get to the other stuff later kind of thing. I couldn't find an article that talked about that, but I could have sworn there was a press conference that one was them saying, yeah, we just need to trust the system, trust us. And that's what we're telling Young. And two, which I should have brought up earlier, I could have sworn, I think it was the offensive coordinator or Frank Wright went on a press conference and said they don't want Young going to Adam Thielen as much. They want him to spread out the ball.
I mean, like, bro, what do you expect Bryce to do? Adam Thielen was literally the only receiver getting open. So you just want him to sit back there and either get sacked or either force it to Mingo or DJ Chark and get an interception. Then he gets criticized for that. Bro, what? If it's not broke, don't fix it, bro. He keeps getting it out to Adam Thielen because he's the only one getting open. Like, see, this is what I'm talking about. The Panthers are just a shit franchise. Same goes for Cleveland. Like, bro.
I could be wrong in that. I swear they said that. And for me, it's like, you don't have any other receivers. You can't go to anyone else. Like, that's not a realistic option, but you still tell them that. And again, I don't have any verified proof, but I swear, I remember that last year distinctively because I was wondering why Thielen was not doing well fantasy-wise. And I heard that. Are you stupid? He's your only guy. And you're helping me in fantasy, which isn't possible given how bad that supporting cast was. There was not the protection nor the weapons to give the foundation needed to execute that. And I know by now, it's all hypothetical. And maybe as far as we know, Young just sucks and he is a bust, which maybe that's the case. But I struggle with that being the sole answer given the situation and his elite traits, which the Panthers were seemingly not playing into. When he was coming out, he was great at extending the play and going outside of structure. He shined in that role at Alabama. It is what impressed everyone who watched him to begin with, and him, quote unquote, being the consensus
Roll Tide
over Stroud.
I think that's why I'm extremely high on Bryce Young, because I am an Alabama fan at the end of the day, bro, and I want to see him succeed. And I just know he's still elite at the end of the day, bro. But he's not in a great position right now like CJ Stroud is.
That everyone was discussing about Stroud. The question was during the draft time, could he make the out of structure plays? And did he have any threat of losing the chains of his legs? And the one time we saw that, where he cleared the air, was the Georgia and Ohio State game in the college playoffs,
which Ohio State should have won, by the way.
We saw CJ Stroud do both of these things. Not just a little, but he played lights out. They still lost the game, but that really doesn't matter. We're talking about he showed he can absolutely play out a structure and at a very high level. It's clear the supporting cast was the main driving factor in why Stroud succeeded. It's also true that when he was under pressure, where the play was breaking down, he came through. He was better under pressure. He made a ton of big time throws. The outside of the numbers or in the middle of the field, he was the better quarterback. Bryce Young did not. His situation was horrendous. But when it came down to him, he failed. I hope you guys enjoyed this very long, very in-depth video. Please do like the video. It helps more than you
I got you, gang.
And comment below what your thoughts are on these two guys.
Check
out this video as well. We look at the real reasons, besides the obvious, why the Falcons drafted Michael Penix Jr.
I might check out that one later down the stretch. I ain't gonna lie. But hey, man, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. You know what I'm saying? Is Bryce Young a bust? Or is it just the Panthers just suck complete dog shit, bro? They suck ass, you know what I'm saying? They can't really what word am I looking for? They can't produce. I wouldn't say produce good quarterbacks. I would say, like, what am I trying to say, bro? I don't know, bro. Like they just can't. Bro, this shit is fucking me up right now, bro. What, like, the word is not this, the word is in my head, bro. I just can't get it out. Fuck it. They just can't get good quarterbacks, you know what I'm saying, or produce good quarterbacks. I'm gonna just go with that. You know what I'm saying? Because after Cam Newton was like the best quarterback they've ever had that I know of, you know what I'm saying? And we see with quarterbacks who were on the Panthers and now they're, you know what I'm saying, on good teams now with Baker and Sam Darnold. You see how good they're playing. I feel like that's gonna be the same case with Bryce Young. You know what I'm saying? But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Y'all let me know what other NFL videos y'all want me to react to. Without further ado, I'm out. Gang!